It's just an increasingly complicated, chaotic, dangerous world out there. I've done some very long and boring writing about the sort of implications of digital network technology, and it's my belief that it has been by and large bad for both security and for privacy. It's had many other wonderful benefits. You can order a car to come to you right on your phone, and whatever. I'm not saying it's bad overall, but if you ask, is it subject to the usual zero-sum game between security and privacy that we're so used to? I would say not always. I think in many cases this technology is hurting both security and, for sure, it's hurting privacy because everything you do is leaving digital footprints that are getting vacuumed up for various reasons and then used by various parties. And the adversaries are getting at that information as well. That is, they're not just stealing information, they're harvesting information wholesale on people like you and me and everybody else. Bryan and I each had the enormous privilege of having our OPM, security clearance documents
along with 26 million of our closest friends.
Thank you very much.
Unencrypted, by the way.
Right. I hope that you're having a good time reading those in Beijing or wherever you are. But everybody's got dossiers effectively built up about them today because of the enormous market for commercial data, the monetization models that underlie a lot of the internet. So it's a very, very chaotic environment. I mean, I don't want to make it sound like, doom is upon us and everything's bad and so forth and so on. But it is a complex, multimodal, multivalent risk environment with a very, very heavy emphasis on cybersecurity risk across a whole variety of different activities.
Yeah, and it's become industrialized, right? So, people talk about Russia invading, sorry, let me start again. It's become industrialized, right? So people talk about Russia interfering in our elections in 2016, 2020, 2024. They've been doing that since 1917. The difference is because all of us are so connected to the world, immediately they can do for pennies what it would have cost them tens of millions of dollars to do in the Cold War.
I definitely think social media and connectivity has been a real force multiplier for them. I think we may have become a little bit of an eggshell plaintiff here, meaning we are vulnerable to their predations, which you're right, they have been practicing in one form or another for a long time, including trying to bribe presidential candidates. But back in the old days, when a presidential candidate was approached with an offer of money, he would immediately call the federal BI and they would deal with it. These days, our politics are different. That's on us. But the social media, the electronic, the cyber connectivity for sure has made the adversary's job a lot easier, and it is a lot cheaper to get information across to a big audience these days than it used to be.
And a lot cheaper to steal data. I mean, just as you were saying, it's not only been industrialized, it's also been democratized, if you will. I mean, you can. We're not going to say how, but if you know where to look, you can buy ransomware for very little money. And one of my favorites,
ransomware as a service.
Yeah.
Who knew that would come up, right? Software as a service and hardware as a service and infrastructure as a service. It's all very, very fancy to have some letter and then AAS at the end of it, okay? And if you say that in Silicon Valley, a venture capitalist will give you $20 million. But ransomware as a service is now a thing. Who would have thought? But there it is.
One of my very favorite things, because sometimes you just have to laugh, is the ransomware Ponzi scheme, whereby this happens. You will get attacked, your data will get locked up by ransomware. They will say, here's a couple different options for getting your data back.
You have to go jam up a couple other people.
100, yeah. One, you can pay us X amount of Bitcoin, or two, you can get 5 of your closest friends, and not only will we give you your data back, but we'll give you a cut of what we make from attacking all your friends.
Wow.
That's a thing.
I did not know that was a thing, but that it's logical, right? If you were like a science fiction writer and you were just sort of saying, like, what will the world look like if these capabilities exist, and what will the incentives drive people to do? You might come up with a story like that.
And yet we still don't have jetpacks.
No,
they exist. But
I saw on the Twitter recently some British commandos doing nifty stuff with these jetpacks on board some or near some ship. So that's hopefully in our future.
Yeah,
I think that's an unambiguous good until somebody uses them to deliver poison or missile or something.
Coming to Amazon, or just a bunch of drunks flying around crashing into each other.
Well,
that's happening.
Yeah, I guess that
will happen. All right, so let's just drill down a little bit on a couple more current developments.
By the way, you're right. This is not all like we're laughing. We've got a drink in our hand because at a certain point you do have to laugh. I mean, I do want to sort of say so that I don't get flamed too badly. This is serious business,
Yes.
and the stakes are very high, and real people get harmed in real ways by a lot of this stuff, not just financially, but personally and in other ways too. And some of this cyber stuff has direct kinetic effects. I mean, we haven't even really talked about, the ability of the Iranians, say, to open the Hoover Dam, using remote SCADA software or something, SCADA controller software. So, this is deadly serious business. It is the key forum for geopolitical competition, and there are real consequences for real people. Sometimes it can feel overwhelming, I think, which is part of the reason that you have to laugh a little bit if you want to maintain your sanity. But don't miss the idea that this is super high stakes stuff. So.
Yeah, and I guess we should say for the record, and Bryan, you should put this towards the beginning, that although both of us are affiliated with a number of companies and organizations and potentially government agencies, we're just speaking on our own behalf. We're not revealing any secrets here. This is things you can find on the interwebs anytime, and we're speaking for ourselves, not for any of our organizations.
Absolutely right. And we're doing it in a particular voice, which is in part, to try to entertain a little bit as well as educate, and that requires a certain style of presentation, but it shouldn't detract from the seriousness of the problem.